We are parked on Marigold Drive. We're facing north, and we're going to take a look at Tract 1 at Riverside at the Niangua. As we look to the left, you can see the blue gate, kind of the little entry gate. We're actually going to go on down to the north a couple hundred feet. This property does have direct frontage on Marigold Drive, just a little bit, enough where you could put in an approach if you wanted to. But even if you didn't want to mess with that, we do have a couple easements in place where you can access the property without coming off Marigold. Okay, so as the road curves, you can see the survey marker right there. That's the beginning of Tract 1. And as you look down, I don't know, 30, 40 feet, you can see another survey marker. So it does have direct road frontage here. The land rises up about 3 feet off the road, although that really would not be that difficult to put in a culvert and an approach if you wanted to do that, to get you easy access to the very southern part of the property. But if you didn't want to mess with that, see if I can back up here without making everybody sick on this video. If you didn't want to mess with that, you certainly wouldn't have to, because you've already got road access to a couple different spots on the property. And we'll check that out in just a moment here. It's a beautiful day. It's late winter or early spring. And we don't have any leaves on the trees yet, so you'll see that obviously. Well, you can see that right now. But it is about 80 degrees today. So nice day to be out doing a video. Okay, so we can pull right through the gate, blue gate here. And then the main easement road goes to the left. We're actually going to cut to the right. And we ride along the edge of this field. Now this is a brand new project. The guys are actually out here today with the dump truck, working on some of the different roads. And basically, you'll cut to the north here. You can see that large tree. You kind of go to the left of that and then stay to the right, and you follow a road that goes down across tracks 4, 3, and 2, and it goes directly onto Tract 1. So that'll bring you toward not quite the southernmost part of the property, but the south side of the middle, basically. And that's important because even if you did an approach coming directly off Marigold, you still have to traverse a little valley that's on the property, and you can see that if you look at the topo map. So I mean, that's doable, but if you didn't want to mess with that at all, this easement is in place, so you can drive directly onto the property without messing with that little valley. Okay, so now what we'll do, we're trying to do this all in one big long video, so if you want to skip directly to the river part, probably skip ahead about 10 minutes, and you can see the Niangua River. If you want to watch the whole works, that's great too. We're going to take this trail that goes down to the left and cuts back to the north and goes all the way back up to Tract 1. So, I mean, this tract has a lot of really cool stuff going for it. This access road is one of those things. So there's the power right there. There's power in a couple different spots out here. There isn't power directly on Tract 1, but it is nearby, and the easements are in place. So if and when you want the power line, you can get it. Okay. Turning on the air conditioning actually, because it is a little warm out there. So these are gravel roads. I mean, you want a truck or an SUV to access the property if it's been raining or whatnot, or if it's wintertime and the roads are rough, then that's where you want that. Ideally a 4-wheel drive, but generally a 2-wheel drive truck or SUV will still have more clearance than a car. And if the roads, I mean, if you get a rutted road or whatnot, having a little bit of extra clearance can make all the difference. So we're coming down to the bottom, and we're going to hang a right, and you'll see this beautiful bottom field. Just gorgeous out here. We're going to hang a right, and like I said, the guys are out here working right now, getting some rock onto these new roads, getting it packed in. And this goes back up to the north, and we're going to end up on tract 1, which is the northernmost tract. So very private. This road is going to end on tract 1, so you're not going to have any through traffic on this road. We saw quite a few deer out here this morning when we pulled through the gate. We saw a couple turkey as well, so deer and turkey already today. Gorgeous bottom field. You can see the Niangua River down there. And across the river, that is, I believe that's Maggard's canoe rental. Not only is this one of the, I guess that's as far as they've gone with the rocks so far. Where was I going? Okay, start over. Not only is the Niangua definitely one of the most popular rivers in Missouri, this is, I guess you'd say, the most popular section of one of the most popular rivers in Missouri, because this 10 or 12 mile section going downriver from Bennett Springs State Park, you can actually fish for trout in this river, rainbow trout and brown trout. Pretty darn amazing. I mean, people come from all over the state, all over the country to get to this area to fish for trout and to float and canoe and kayak in this section of water. It's certainly quiet right now, but in a month or two, I mean, when the season hits, this is going to be a happening spot. If you've ever looked for property, private tracts on the Niangua River, especially in this section, they basically don't exist. I mean, we've had several people tell us that when we started letting people know that we had these tracts coming up. We had several local people say, wow, we've been looking for over 10 years for a property on that section of the Niangua, and we could not find one. And I was kind of like, yeah, well, I agree. We've been looking for 15 years and we couldn't find one. So we were super thrilled to get this project. So river frontage in general in the Ozarks, very hard to come by. River frontage on this section with actual trout fishing, stunning. I'm not knowledgeable about trout fishing, but I'm told this is a white ribbon section, which is the most family friendly. I think you can use different, I don't know, check it out. I don't want to quote you the wrong statistics about white ribbon trout fishing, but I've been told it's the best for all ages. I think they've got better limits, or I'm not really sure, but it's a big deal. That's all I know for sure. Okay, getting closer to the property here. So the original plan on all these tracts out here was to go through and spend a few days on each one and get them all cleaned up. We got these tracts after there was some logging done. A local logger cut some of the large commercial size oak trees. Basically they were of the age where they were starting to decline in health, and they really did need to be cut. So he did that. He didn't do any cleanup, which is extremely normal for loggers, and that's fine. We bought the property after he was done, and we had planned on coming in and spending some time and cleaning up the properties. I don't want to say it's easy, because I guess that's up to your opinion, but if you have access to a skid loader or a tractor with a bucket, it's really not too bad to clean up these properties that have been logged. We've been doing it for years. I would estimate, if you have a skid loader or access, I mean, you can rent skid loaders in any city around here, any large city. 2 or 3 days probably. A couple guys or girls with a skid loader and a chainsaw. I mean, you can get a lot cleaned up, and you'll see, I mean, you can see some of the logs here and there. Some of that's from the loggers. Some of that is from if the river were to get up in this field and leave some logs and debris behind. That's what some of that is. But you can see on the drone video. We're going to do a drone video today. We love to do them when possible in the winter or super early spring, when there are no leaves on the trees, because that's when you get the most honest look at the property. You can see everything. If we were to do the drone video in a couple weeks or a month, it would just be a beautiful mass of green, and you likely wouldn't even be able to tell that there was recent logging. But here in the wintertime, you get to see everything. So check out this listing at InstantAcres.com to see the drone video as well. I feel like I had a topic of to discuss in my head, and then I lost it. I got off track, but oh well. So we're getting close to the property. This is going to be tract 2 that we're crossing over, and we're headed to tract 1. So these are the most narrow, or this particular, all of these are the most narrow by Marigold, and they get wider when you move toward the river. So that's, I mean, that's ideal for a river property. Tremendous amount of river frontage. I mean, just unheard of to have a tract this size with that amount of river frontage. It's awesome. You can see that white object back there. That's one of the skid loaders that I was playing with today. And I'll leave it to me to break the skid loader immediately. So it's sitting actually just barely on tract 1. Let's see this. These have been recently surveyed with the boundaries marked. You can see these T-posts. That's marking the side boundary there. Okay, so we just literally just pulled onto tract 1. And I'm just going to hop out and we'll do some walking. We'll get to the river in a minute. So we're looking north along the west boundary of tract 1. You can see those posts. Having a recent survey is fantastic. And you can see exactly what's going on, and I'm excited to check out the river, but first I want to show you what we were up to, what I was up to with the skid loader when it got stuck. When we were out here doing something else the other day on a nearby tract, it looked as though there was a trail on tract 1. Because where we are right now, this is obviously within the flood zone, so you would not want to build your house or cabin here. And then as you move up toward the county road, you get out of the flood zone pretty quickly. And we noticed when we were doing a drone video that there was actually a trail on tract 1 that looked like it started at the bottom field. And so we found it, and I was trying to open it up with a skid loader, and I almost made it. I got to this last 20 feet, and we had an issue. That's our older skid loader. But I'm just gonna walk over and we'll take a look. So all I was working on was pushing these old logs and stuff out of the way, and then we'd have, at a minimum, a walking trail, but ideally a trail for a four-wheeler or a pickup truck to get you to a high and dry spot on tract 1. And I'm kind of excited about this because this is as far as I've been. I've never walked this trail, so that's interesting. So that is on tract 1. I'm trying to get my bearings here. Okay. So I can see those posts. I've got those lined up. So where I'm standing is basically on the west line, looking to the north. So the skid loader and the truck, they're directly on the property. And then, I don't know if you can even see it, but there's some posts and whatnot going up that way. So this trail is definitely on tract 1, and if this leads to a decent building site, that would be unbelievable. If you're well versed in river property, then you know you generally make a choice when you buy a property on a major river. There are deer tracks everywhere here, recent deer tracks everywhere. You make a choice. You're either buying a property with a view of the water or with access to the water. Because anything with access to the water is generally in the floodplain. Anything with a view generally is very steep. Case in point, if you look as we go down there, you can see it through the trees actually. The house on the other side of the river, he's got a view. He doesn't really have any physical access to the water. It's much too steep. But here on tract 1, we may have found the unbelievably perfect mix of a high and dry building site with potentially a view and access to the water. Oh, this is fantastic. This is better than I expected. So we're on tract 1. We've got a nice level area looking southerly. And again, in a few weeks when the leaves are on the trees, this is going to look completely different. But we've got a nice level area, basically a large knoll. I can see the water in a couple spots. If you wanted to really open up a water view, you'd have to thin out some of this timber because this section doesn't look like it had much much timber cut, so it's pretty thick there. There's that beautiful house across. So from where we are here, I can see just little bits of water, but I'm looking directly over the property itself. So I mean, you would have the option of removing some of that timber. As far as cutting the timber goes, when the property's been paid for in full, you're free to do what you like with the timber. You can cut it all, you can leave it there, you can use it for firewood, whatever, once the property's paid for in full. Until then, you cannot cut timber with the stump diameter of over 8 inches without written permission from us. That's pretty standard in an owner-financed situation. So what that means is, well, you can't cut the timber, but if you're doing a building site, if you're doing a trail or a road or whatever, potentially if you're doing a view, anything that's an improvement, you can let us know, and all you'll have to do is grab some of that marking tape, like from Home Depot or Walmart, the orange trail marking tape, and mark the timber that you want to cut. When we have someone in the area, they'll come out, they'll take a look at it, and if everything looks fine, then they can give you written approval to cut those trees, even before the property's been paid for in full. So that's something that we're happy to do for people. I mean, there is still some commercial timber on this property, so you definitely need that written permission. But we're happy to do it. As we continue moving south, this still looks really nice. I have never been on this section of the property. Having the recent survey, and having not only the survey, but the lines are marked. There you can see a post off in the distance. I mean, you can tell exactly where you are. So we know how close we are to the line. We know it's tough to beat. And by the way, just for your own knowledge, if you have a survey, you have to request and pay extra to have the lines marked. It's called true line marking. We have all kinds of surveys done, but it's very expensive to have the true line marking done, so seldom do we do that. We did do that on this tract. So a nice bonus for you. You can tell just exactly what's going on. Let's head on down to the river. But yeah, I'm thrilled by this building site. There's another house out there with the river view. I didn't know that was there. This is a wildly popular section. I mean, it's hard for me to overstate just how much in demand this section of river is. We've got the little, well, small, medium, and large campgrounds right in the area. Just a really cool place to be. So we'll walk on down. I apologize for the length of this video. We usually try to keep them, 3, 4, 5 minutes. This has gone, holy cow, 18 minutes already. But we're almost to the river, almost there. You can see quite a few logs and whatnot over here. Some of that's from the loggers, some of that is probably from if and when water gets up in this field. There's some barbed wire. Use caution coming through here. So yeah, this is not quite done. If and when we get the bobcat fixed or get one of the other bobcats out here, we'll see about pushing these logs out of the way and at least make it a walking trail. Then if you wanted to improve it from there, that would be up to you. But I am definitely ready to go check out the water. I think what we'll do is we'll walk to the north up this west line and get to the river, and then we'll try to walk basically all of the river frontage. Beautiful property. I don't remember if I mentioned it because I've just been kind of rambling for about 20 minutes, but this was originally scheduled to be 2 separate 5-acre tracts. and each of them would have had quite like 150 feet or whatnot on the river. Each one of them separately would have had a ton of good frontage. And we sort of decided at the last minute to go ahead and put them together and just do one huge 10-acre tract. So instead of two super nice tracts, we have one amazingly super nice tract. And I have actually seen some of the river frontage on this, so I do know we're in for a treat. There you can see the Niangua and that house above. Okay, and I'm looking at a good way to get down here. This really could use a little four-wheeler trail. Nice gravel base, really cool. If you need gravel or rock or sand for a building project or a landscaping project, if you've priced it, then you know that there are, literally tens of thousands of dollars worth of gravel and sand on this property. And most of the cost of gravel and sand is the hauling bill. Well, you've already got this directly on your property, so that's pretty cool. Oh, there's someone riding a horse over there. That was unexpected. Hello! Oh, this is beautiful. We've got a sandy trail with deer prints everywhere. But what I wanted to do, I wanted to start right at the corner here. Okay. Whoops. So directly across from that pretty house is where the property, I guess this would be about the northwest corner. If you look on one of the river maps, I don't know if we have it in the listing, but it actually shows this little miniature section of rapids here. Like a micro whitewater section, really pretty cool. I think there are only two little sections like this that I saw on the map. And you've got one right here basically at the property. So that's interesting. We had quite a bit of rain 3 or 4 days ago, so the water is not as clear as I've seen it. Although it is beautiful. So you can literally fish for trout right here from your property. Rainbow trout, brown trout. Even without the trout, we've got great fishing with bass and I believe catfish and perch and all that good stuff. Look at this sand. Sandy beach like Hawaii. That is awesome. I think I'd be pitching my tent right here. This is obviously some type of animal trail. It's a well-used animal trail at that. Oh, this is gorgeous. We've got sandbars, we've got gravel bars everywhere. Nice gentle slope right down to the water's edge. Oh, and this is beautiful. 2 large old sycamore tree root wads in the water. Might be a place where some bass or catfish are hiding. Beautiful sandy beach right there. Even with the rain having stirred it up a couple days ago, it's still pretty clear right here at the edge. So very nice for swimming. If you have little kids, big kids, perfect for all that. And we have still not reached the end of the river frontage. That is a well-worn deer trail. Holy cow. I see deer prints and turkey prints just everywhere. Okay, so we're looking back up at the open meadow. I'm gonna come down here because I happen to know that we've got a really cool feature here on the property. We've got this gravel area that gently goes right into the water. I don't think you could plan out a better canoe launch or place to launch your raft than this right here. Oh, look at that. I feel like I'm in Florida or Hawaii. Gentle sand going just ever so gently right into the river. We're now downstream from those rapids. I can barely hear those. And the water's gotten more gentle, I guess you'd say. This is cool. That's crystal clear right there. That'd be a good place to stick your canoe and just tie it off to a tree. Wow. I try to remember to get pictures while I'm doing the videos, but I always seem to forget. So if I go back to something, that's generally what I'm up to. Just snapping a picture. Oops. Unbelievable. I'm really excited to do the drone video as well. I haven't done that yet. Whoops. Some beautiful rocks here. Interesting gravel and sand. I don't think we've gotten to the northeast edge of the property. I haven't seen a survey marker yet. I wish I had the map with me, but I don't, so I don't know exactly how much frontage there is, but I do believe it's over 300 feet, which is pretty unbelievable. Okay, now we're almost there. If you look up there just on the crest of that little hill, you can see one of the markers. So the east side of this directly borders this little resort here. I think it's called Ho Hum Campground. If you want to Google that, check out the info. Okay, so there you can see the marker, survey marker about in the middle of the screen. There is Ho Hum Campground. So we're at about the northeast corner of the property. We keep finding these beads on the shoreline, like Mardi Gras beads. I think that's one of the things the young kids do in the summertime is throw beads at each other. If you see those concrete pylons off in the distance, I'm told that was a bridge that was going to be built in the 1930s, and they did the pylons, and then something happened to the funding, so they never built the bridge. There used to be a little town called Corkery, basically where we are. It might have been on the north side, I'm not sure. Pretty interesting though. So we're going to walk back to the south along the east line. Because this happens to be a really cool area right here as well. So there's Ho Hum Resort. You can see some different RV plugs and whatnot. So all of that we're looking at Ho Hum, that is in the flood zone, but I mean, it doesn't mean you can't use the property. I'm sure that's quite popular in the summertime, their RV spots and whatnot. Obviously this property does have covenants, and one of those is no commercial businesses. So you can't turn this into a resort. It's got to stay a pleasant residential property. This area right here is kind of interesting because if you were to clean it up a little bit, you could actually maintain this with the lawnmower, and it would have just a park-like appearance. So if I were to keep this property, to purchase this property, I would love that, first of all. So would my daughter. I would do two things. I would, number one, put a little cabin up on that high and dry spot where we walked. Do a 600 square foot structure right there. About a 20 by 30 cabin. And number two, I would clear out this area. I would leave all the trees, but I would clear out the small sticks and stuff, mow this, and then you'd find me stretched out in a hammock between two of these trees. You're gonna have shade here in about 2 weeks when the leaves are out. Unbelievable. Oh my gosh, we've gone 30 minutes. That's officially the longest video we've ever done. So my apologies for that. If you're still watching, then thank you very much. We'll look back toward the truck, but one last thing that I wanted to get on the video is here toward the northeast part of the property, where we walked down originally to the river, and I talked about potentially having to do a four-wheeler trail. You actually don't, because on the northeast part of the property there's this existing natural trail that goes straight to the water, to that kind of that canoe launch type area that had the clear pool in it. So it depends on if it's been raining or not, but on a day like today, I could drive my truck right down this and right to the water, no problem. Have a little cookout or camp out or whatnot. Unbelievable. I mean, geez. When this one's gone, it's gone. So if you're interested, let us know. If you have any questions, let us know. You can go to InstantAcres.com to see if the property is still available. If it is, you'll see it there. If you don't see it, then unfortunately it's not available. I wish we had a ton of these beautiful tracts. We have a very limited number. Each one is kind of unique, and this one kind of tops the list as far as uniqueness, with the massive amount of frontage, easy access to the water, that high and dry site. I mean, the list goes on and on. Fantastic investment quality property that you can actually use. You can't beat that. InstantAcres.com. We hope to hear from you.